During Lent, we remember the events that led up to the crucifixion. Jesus had come to bring hope and light to the world, but at every step there were those who could not accept the power of the light. He came to meet people's needs, but there were those who misunderstood the kind of needs that Jesus meant to fill. Because he would not do what they wanted, they rejected him. According to John, Jesus was teaching a large crowd who had followed him because they had seen his miracles of healing the sick. Jesus saw the large crowd of more than 5,000 men and asked Philip, "Where can we buy enough food to feed all these people?" Philip knew they didn't have enough money to buy even a small amount for everyone. But Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "There is a small boy who has 5 loaves of barley bread and 2 fish, but they will certainly not be enough to feed all these people." Jesus had the people sit and took the bread, gave thanks to God, and distributed it to the people. He did the same with the fish. Everyone had as much as they wanted, and when the disciples gathered what was left, they filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the barley loaves. Seeing this miracle that Jesus had performed, the people said, "Surely this is the prophet who was to come into the world." Jesus could sense that they were about to make him king by force, so he went off again to the hills to be by himself. Jesus came into the world to change it, not to be made to fit into some mold that others felt was right. When Jesus refused to be what the others wanted, they turned their backs on him, and a little of the light that had come into the world was put out.
This scene is called Through a Mother's Eyes, an encounter between Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Hannah, the mother of Judas. The scene takes place in Mary's home. Mary seems to be wandering around aimlessly, trying to clean the room, but she's having a difficult time keeping her attention on the matter at hand. A few seconds later, a knock is at the door. Mary goes to answer it, drying her eyes as she goes. She opens the door and pulls back in surprise. In walks Hannah, the mother of Judas.
Hannah,
Mary, I know this is awkward, but after all that has happened, and my son's role in it, well, I just had to come. Is that all right? May I stay and visit? It will only be a short while and then I'll go.
Well, everything is a mess, and I really haven't been able to get it clean.
It's all right, really. I promise not to even notice.
All right, then, come in. John is gone, and I am all alone. I suppose I should offer you something. I am such a poor hostess. Would you like some water? I have some cakes.
No, please don't go to any bother. Mary, I just want to say how sorry I am. When I heard it was my son who had turned against Jesus, I felt so ashamed. If there is any way I can make it up to you.
It's all right, Hannah. It's not your fault. You couldn't have known.
But I feel it is my fault. I should have raised him better, or I should have loved him more, and perhaps he wouldn't have turned out to be such an angry young man. Now it's too late. I've lost him.
No, it's not your fault, really.
Oh, Mary, you're so kind, but I probably shouldn't have come to you. You have your own sorrow, and maybe you really can't understand. Your Jesus was always so good. You did a fine job with him. Judas, the world never seemed to quite fit him. He was always unhappy with it. Maybe it was because his father was always unhappy with him. But Mary, you have to understand that he really wasn't a bad boy. There really was a lot of love in him. If I remember once when he was only 5, his father had gotten very angry with me, unjustly I might add. I was crying and little Judas came up to me. He put his hand in mine and said, "Don't cry, Mommy. When I get big, I won't let anyone hurt you again." From that moment on, he always seemed to be trying to strike back at the world.
It was the first thing he ever made. He was 5 then, too. He loved to help his father in the carpentry shop. He said it was a donkey and that he had made it for me. The dark stain in his blood. He had cut his little finger. We were so close then. What happens between a mother and a son, Hannah? When we grew up, he wouldn't listen when I told him to be careful. He wouldn't listen.
They never do, Mary. Mary, in spite of what he did, I know my son thought the world of your Jesus. He was just so angry at the Romans that he couldn't see anything else. He wanted to get back at them, and he couldn't understand why Jesus wouldn't lead his revolution.
Yes, anger does that to a person. It's funny. A mother should teach her son, but my Jesus taught me so much about the futility of acting in vengeance and anger. He taught me a lot about everything. How can you be a mother to someone who insists on teaching you?
Yes, Mary, your Jesus was a good man. It must be especially hard to lose a son who was so knowledgeable, so faultless.
It hurts to lose any son, Anna, because we mothers always know the good that was there. Through mother's eyes, one only sees the child.
Mary, some say he spoke of returning to life.
Yes, he did speak of such.
Do you believe he will?
No, it's too much to hope for. He spoke of it, yes, but my son was always saying things that I didn't understand. Maybe he just meant he would rise to be with his Father in heaven, or maybe he really believed he would come back to life. But how can a mother hope for such a thing? To hope and then lose him again, a shattered hope. That would be unbearable.
I will hope for you, Mary. I will do it for you, one too sorrowful to hope. I will do it for my son, one too angry to hope. If my hope is crushed, then it is crushed. I have nothing more anyway. But if my hope is rewarded, then I will have helped bring back what my son took away.
You didn't stay a child, did you, my son? Well, if you do come back to life, perhaps then I can remember that.
Easter is a story of sacrifice. We cannot imagine all that King Jesus did for us. We've never seen the beauty he gave up, the warmth of the light, the perfect joy, the unbroken peace, the rich, all-engulfing love. And we will never experience what he suffered. Stop for a moment and simply look up at him. See his body bloodied and broken. Look into his face, disfigured by pain and cruel abuse. What do you wish to say to your King?